Good morning, everybody. This is Michael Griffin at ClientLook. Thank you very much for joining us. This morning, we're going to go through a very concise but hopefully thorough overview of ClientLook CRM. And as we get started, I want to give you a couple of housekeeping tips in case you've never joined us before. So everybody is muted. We just have too many connections all over to entertain questions and hear people's voices. But we do want you to engage with this presentation. And over somewhere on the right side of your screen, typically, there'll be a little GoToWebinar control panel of some sort. And there's usually a question section, kind of a chat section in there that you can ask questions during the presentation. So our support team and sales team monitors those questions during the presentation, and they'll respond back to you in real time. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll ask Chuck if there are any questions that were kind of common or things that I might not have hit upon during the course of the demonstration, and he'll ask me those at the end for the sake of the entire audience. If for some reason your question is more involved, we'll call you or we'll email you after the fact, after the demo's over, to answer your question. We should be recording this. If all goes well with the GoToWebinar recording system, we should be recording this, and we'll distribute a copy of the recording to everybody who registered to the webinar sometime either later today or tomorrow. So don't feel like you have to take notes and remember everything that you see. Okay, so let's get started. Well, thank you again for joining us. My name is Michael Griffin. I'm the president and CEO of ClientLook, and I'm going to give you an overview of the latest and greatest version of ClientLook CRM this morning. So first of all, let me start with just what is ClientLook. In ClientLook, as you see on the screen, there is a leading cloud-based all-in-one CRM solution. So what is a CRM? We in the CRM business kind of take for granted that everybody knows what this means, but that's not the case. So CRM means customer relationship management, and it's sort of the newfangled term for what used to be called contact management. And so I've been involved in contact management in CRM for years and years. I started as a broker, then I created a company called Aries for Act, which was based on an old desktop contact manager called Act. And I sold that to CoStar Group, and then eventually left to start ClientLook. And ClientLook is known as a CRM. So they're all kind of the same genre of applications. And by all-in-one, we mean a tool that's basically a kind of a turnkey system for your business, something that lets you manage your contacts, your properties, your activities, your pipeline, your listings, all in one system. So ClientLook's been around for a while now. We started in 2009. We've developed lots of nuances and built our application based on the feedback of all of our users. So needless to say, we're not a startup, I guess, in the true sense of the term, in that we're new to the market. We've been doing this for a while. So one of the really unique things about ClientLook is the fact that it's a native commercial real estate app. Now, by that I mean ClientLook is built for commercial real estate. It's not built for other industries. It's not an add-on like back in my days when I built on top of the Act desktop system. Act is a generic contact manager, and I built an application that rode on top of that to customize it for commercial real estate. And there's lots of kludginess with that, lots of shortcuts we have to take. And when I elected to do this the second time around with ClientLook, I made the firm decision that I was going to build this from the ground up. So think of ClientLook as a development that you design with the architect in mind, as opposed to a retrofit, which is you take an industrial building and you try to turn it into an office building. So ClientLook is native, and it allows us to do some really, really, really interesting and powerful things, as you're going to see. ClientLook is designed for everybody, for every specialty, from brokers to developers to owners, basically anybody that lives within the commercial real estate ecosystem, including single users, teams, and even giant enterprises. I think our largest installation now is almost 1,500 users. So we've got lots and lots of people, lots of big organizations using ClientLook. So nowadays, ClientLook, we have this running total on our website, so you can check it. We're in this was a couple of weeks ago. So we're almost in 1,700 cities now in 9 countries. So this is as a software developer, so exciting for me to see the proliferation of ClientLook all over the world, and how we're running so many commercial real estate companies' businesses. Okay, so let me talk to you about why ClientLook is so special. Then we're going to jump into the demonstration. So it's important to understand what makes ClientLook different than anything else out there. So first and foremost, I would suggest that ClientLook's, kind of key differentiator is the fact that it's designed solely for commercial real estate. Like I said, we don't work with other industries. Everything you're going to see, every button, every field, every feature in ClientLook is made solely to accommodate the needs of commercial real estate professionals. That allows us to really focus on the feature set. You're not going to find a bunch of extra stuff and fluff that you have to ignore because it doesn't really apply to your business. ClientLook is laser focused on being a really, really valuable and key mission critical tool for commercial real estate. Along those lines, though, we've taken the approach that it's irresponsible of us to design an application that requires your investment in training time. So frequently we hear this sort of talk track about commercial real estate people are slow to adopt technology. And in my opinion, if that is true, it's primarily because the applications that you've been provided haven't been easy enough to use, haven't been compelling enough to use. So what we're trying to create is a simple system, one that you can literally start with today and be productive in minutes and never have to invest time in training. And when we look at new features that we're implementing, we ask ourselves, okay, is this something we're going to have to tell people how to use? And if so, it's a failure. So know that using ClientLook means you're going to get your money's worth with the productivity advances that you're going to get in the way that you're going to be able to adapt and adopt it so quickly. So another thing that came out of our work with so many thousands of users over the last couple of years here is, and I'll be the first person to tell you this, as a CRM provider, a lot of what you're asked to do to maintain your CRM, which requires 1 to 2 hours per day to really reap the benefits of a CRM, a lot of that work is not worth your time. And I don't mean that it's not important. It's critically important for you to enter new business cards, to track property specifications, to log what you do, the outcome of meetings and property tours and all this stuff. It's just not worth your time to sit there as a data entry person and key all this stuff in. So what do? So you hire an assistant, right? So that's out of the reach of a lot of people. And it's, in this day and age, it just doesn't really pay to have an assistant to sit there and do your data entry. So ClientLook's solution is to provide that level of service for you. And we call it the virtual assistant service. And it's absolutely exclusive to ClientLook. So as I'm going to show you throughout the demonstration, you're able to leverage a team of people to do data entry for you. And the primary goal here is to keep you focused on deal making, which is what you do best, is what makes you money, and leave the stuff that's important for your CRM usage, data entry, new business cards, logging activities, scheduling appointments, all that stuff that's important, leave that to somebody else. Okay, so another one of our really key sort of tenets of our development philosophy is this idea of integration. And we've heard a lot about it these days. The efforts of companies to sort of align and to link themselves. Well, we really take this to heart, and we attempt to integrate with the key utilities, tools, other leading solutions that our users tell us they want to integrate with. So you're going to see examples in my demo here of integration with BuildOut and Xceligent, MailChimp, Google. I don't know, we've got about a dozen different integration partners, and the whole purpose is to make sure that while you're using ClientLook, you're able to leverage other applications that you use without inefficiency, without having to redundantly enter the same data and application after application. So the content starts in ClientLook, and then we allow you to leverage and push that all over the place. So another key feature of ClientLook, as you're going to see, is what we call real-time client collaboration. So this is a big deal these days. Your ability to transparently communicate with your clients in whatever capacity, whatever assignment you might have. So I'm a listing broker and I need to communicate with my clients as to the activity that I'm generating around their property. Traditionally I'm, sending over a spreadsheet of what I do, but ClientLook is built to not only make it really easy for you to contribute everything you do, but also to communicate that data in real time to your clients. Your clients enjoy access to a free war room sort of feature. It's a light version of ClientLook, if you will, where they can collaborate, they can add notes, they can download files, they can see what you do, and you can stay connected in real time. Okay, so now let's jump into our product tour. So these are the main things I'm going to talk to you about: contacts, properties and listings, deals in pipeline, activities, and marketing. And then at the end, I'm going to give you a sneak preview of our mobile app. So let me start with contacts. Okay. So this is the contacts list. So how did I get here? I went to my browser. So ClientLook is web-based. It doesn't require anything to be installed on any machine. It works on any computer, on any browser, from any location. So I can be in the office, I can be on vacation, I can be at home. I go to Chrome or Safari or Firefox, whatever browser I choose to use, on my computer, on my mobile device, on my tablet, and I log into ClientLook. I go to clientlook.com, I click a login link, I type in my email and password, and here's what I get. So these are my contacts. So how did these contacts get here? Well, there's a couple of main ways. So the first of which is I will have imported them from some other system. So I'm using Outlook or another CRM now. So I export that data into a spreadsheet and I email it to the virtual assistant or the ClientLook support team, and they zap it in for me. I can do these imports myself if I choose to, but it makes it really easy for me to just get the list and send it off. I can manually add a record. You see in the upper right corner, there's the big add a new contact button. So it's simple for me to just click this and key in a record like you've done in countless other systems. Or I can have the virtual assistant add information for me. So the perfect example there is you go to a meeting. So think about as you go to a meeting today and you collect business cards. What do you do with those business cards? So the ClientLook user goes out of the office, goes into their cars, takes their phone out, snaps a picture of those business cards, and emails them to the virtual assistant. Then within minutes, the information is keyed into ClientLook, and they get an email telling them that the task has been completed. I could even make some notes on those business cards about a group I want these people to be put into, or a follow-up date, schedule a follow-up call for me next Thursday. All of that will be handled for me. It's really quick, really easy. So that's how contact information gets into in the system where we're going to talk about now, how you kind of delve into a contact record. But before I go any further, let me show you in the bottom right corner of the screen. There's this little sort of chat like icon. It's not really chat, but it's more of a communication tool. If I click it, it pops up a list of all of the points of engagement that I've had with ClientLook. So this is where I can enter new conversation, and I can start communicating with the virtual assistant team and the ClientLook support team and ask them anything I want. So our goal is to provide you really rapid responses to the questions that you might have about using ClientLook. How do I import something? I would tap that in, and I would get a response back. The responses come back in ClientLook as well as in email. So our users love this, and it makes it really, really easy for you to get responses and ask questions if you do have questions without having to go hunt for some email address and send the email and wait for a response. It's all done in ClientLook. Okay, so now let's jump into a context record here. All right, so this is Jessica Anderson, the COO of Red Cloud, and she's a tenant. I know that based on the description I see up here in the upper left. So the context screen here is really simple. As you look down the left side, you see phone number, email address, website, address, some description field. If I scroll down, I'm going to see things like custom fields along the left. So I can add as many custom fields as I want to ClientLook to track anything I want: dates, square footages, lease expirations, anything that might be pertinent to my business. And as I look along the right there, I see a variety of tabs: updates, activities, properties, deals, that sort of thing. So let's talk about the updates tab. So the updates tab is really the heart of information in this context record. So one of the things that I urge every ClientLook user to do, this is one of the simplest things, and if you do just this one thing, it can literally transform your business, which is simply log the outcome of the stuff that you do. Type in the outcome of your phone calls, the outcome of your meetings. Use the virtual assistant to do it for you, but one way or another, log what you do. And the goal is so that a year from now, Jessica Anderson pops up on my radar. Either I call her, she calls me, something happens. I have a complete history of everything that I've engaged with her in, and I don't have to remember it. That's kind of the big thing here. You can't keep stuff in your brain. You have to commit it to a system to allow it to be easily retrievable and even searchable. So that's how a lot of the information gets into the updates tab there. So I see outcome of all my meetings, phone calls, all that sort of stuff. But the other big thing that ClientLook will track for you is email. So think about how you're organizing your email right now. If you're like a lot of people, you're doing it in Outlook or Gmail or whatever you might use with an arcane folder structure, and you're dragging emails around, you're trying to coordinate all this stuff. Well, here's how ClientLook users organize their email. So every ClientLook user has a dedicated email address that's assigned to them by ClientLook. So you see this here, contact email, blah, blah, blah. It's not important to remember that because I just click email me a V card here, and it will pop that into my phone, my Outlook, whatever I might use for email. But here's how it works. So now I want to send Jessica an email. I might be on my phone or my tablet. I can be in Outlook. Doesn't matter. So I key key in the email. I add some attachments, and I BCC my ClientLook email address. So the email goes off to Jessica, but ClientLook also gets a copy. And what ClientLook does is it looks into the recipient list, both the to and the CC list of everybody that you sent that email to, and it creates an email in ClientLook, with the body of that message in, including the attachments, and then it relates it, links it to all of the contacts that it found in your account that were included as part of the message. So think about how many times a day you do this, hundreds potentially. What ClientLook will do is organize every single email that you send around your people. So when you pull up Jessica, you not only know what you've done with her in the past, property tour, phone calls, that sort of thing, but you see every email that you've sent, every attachment, and every email that she has sent to you in one place without any effort at all. And we've even built in shortcuts into ClientLook where if I click somebody's email address in their record, it will compose an email in Outlook and it will automatically BCC that email address for me, so I don't even have to think about it. Okay, so let's move ahead here. So activities. So this is one of those other things that's a simple tip, but so important, which is that ideally you want to strive to have every contact that's business related, every contact that's business related in ClientLook to have an activity scheduled. You want to know what the next thing that you're going to do is with this contact, even if it's I'm going to call Jessica in a year on her birthday. Whatever the case, you've got something scheduled so that nobody falls through the cracks. You don't want to have to be, reactively searching your database for leads and for things to do. You want to just show up every day and have ClientLook tell you what to do. Here are the 22 tasks that you need to complete today. Here are your meetings. So of course you're going to be scheduling things, day by day, but long-term follow-up stuff, you should be on autopilot for that. So it takes a little discipline. Over time, as you pull up a context record, just make sure, I have to schedule the next thing with this person, whatever it might be, and then you move on. And then you sort of lock this person into a cadence of relationship building, that strengthens over time. Okay, so let's talk about property. So one of the big features of ClientLook and benefits is its ability not only to help you develop relationships with people, contact management, customer relationship management. That's what CRM is all about. But it goes a step further in helping you develop relationships with properties. And that might sound kind of silly, but here's what I mean by that. So you need to be, an expert with the tenants, with, the owners, whatever your specialty is, with those people. But you also need to be an expert within the properties that you care about, your territory or whatever it is. So ClientLook gives you the ability to track those properties in this very robust system. And you can link people and properties together. And over time, that's how you make money, obviously. You create relationships with people, a tenancy relationship, a seller, a buyer, or whatever it might be. And so this property tab, in the case of a context record, tells us simply which properties Jessica is related to. She's related to 3 different properties. And they're all office, and you see over on the far right, her relationship with these. She's a tenant in one, a prospect in another, and a tenant in a third. And new feature in ClientLook, if you happen to be a ClientLook user watching this, you'll appreciate this. So this new feature allows, if you relate a person to a property as a tenant, you can now track their lease expiration, square footage, floor, and suite. So this is the first step in a very powerful way for us to help produce the best lease tracking system, tenant tracking system there is in the industry. But let's talk about how you relate somebody to a property, because this is also the point at where one of our first integrations comes into play. So I click relate a property here, and I get this little pop-up. So all it simply asks you is, what's the address of the property you want to relate Jessica to? And there's this source pick list here, and it says ClientLook. So the assumption is you have properties in ClientLook, and you're going to type in an address, and you're going to relate Jessica to that property record. So I type in Main Street or whatever it might be, and I relate her. But we can take this a step further. So this is an example of an integration with Xceligent. So for those of you who don't know Xceligent, Xceligent is a commercial real estate information service with 1.5 million property records across the country. And we can tap into that inventory through ClientLook. So this requires a subscription to Xceligent, but here's how it works. So I choose Xceligent as my source, and it asks me, all right, where do you want to search Xceligent? So I go in and I choose one of what they call metro market. So I choose, Southern California here. Then I come down to property, and I enter an address here into the pick list here. It gives me a list of addresses that match, and I select one of these. Then I come down to this next field, which is where I indicate the relationship that I want to have with Jessica. So up comes the different options. I can relate her to this property as an attorney, as an investor, as an owner, whatever it might be, but I'm going to choose in this case tenant. So follow me here. I'm relating Jessica to this property as a tenant, and when I do so, I'm given these fields down here to allow me to indicate the specific tenancy, relevant field data for this property. So I can relate Jessica to 100 properties if I want to, and for each property, I could indicate the the square footage and the lease expiration for that given property. So I fill in some data here, and I click save, and I'm done. So now you see the property appear here in the list, and there's now 4 properties related to Jessica instead of just 3. So keep this in mind. This is really powerful, and you can relate people to properties as tenants, as owners, as prospects. You've discussed a property with somebody, and you want to make sure that they're always sort of related to it. But it's up to you, and all of those relationships are customizable, so it's really easy, really flexible. All right, so let's talk about deals here for a second. ClientLook has this deal tracking module that we're going to jump into in a minute here, but these are the 2 deals that Jessica is related to. She's a prospect of these 2 deals that I'm working on. So depending on my specialty, I might be a landlord rep. These are the 2 properties I've presented to her. I might be a tenant rep. These are, again, the 2 properties I've presented to her. So this helps us understand and kind of create those connections between deals and people. Next tab here is groups. So we can see the groups that this contact is related to. So groups are a way to subdivide, segment big giant lists into smaller lists. This is mostly done for marketing purposes, but you can put somebody in as many groups as you want. That it's really easy to pull up, specific groups. Oh, let me show you the, whoops, I jumped over. Let me show you the marketing tab here. Okay. So the marketing tab is an integration with MailChimp, and I'll show you how this works in a few minutes too. But needless to say, here's what you get through this integration. I can pull up any contact in ClientLook that I've sent an email to, and I can instantly see the campaigns that they've sent, their open rate, their click rate, and I can see what they've clicked on based on what I've sent them in the past. So I know Jessica's not clicking on stuff on the south side, but she's clicking on properties that I sent her on the north side or whatever it might be. So this is great insight into the marketing activity that you do that you probably don't have access to now. All right, so now we're going to talk about properties. So we talked about people and developing relationships with people. Now we're going to talk about developing relationships with properties. And I know this is a whole different way of thinking about why you track properties. in the past, if you've been a commercial real estate guy or a lady who has tracked properties, you've done it in a variety of different ways, spreadsheets, old CRM systems, whatever the case is. But ClientLook, it takes a whole new spin on this. And basically the spin is that you want to become the expert at these properties. And the problem with that is it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort to maintain the changes that occur in these properties. It takes a lot of effort to actually add the properties. So we short circuit that with the virtual assistant. So it's easy for me to add a property. I get a flyer from somebody and I say, hey, I don't have that property in my property module. I email it off to the virtual assistant and say, hey, enter this property record into my property module, and now I have it. So we can also import properties. That's the way a lot of people get properties, seed properties into their database. Initially, they send us some lists, and that gets zapped in. You can always do your own imports, but again, leverage the virtual assistant or support team to do that for you. I can also manually add a property. If I come up here to the add a new property button, you can see I can manually add one. So if I do that, you'll see I've got, basic data entry fields, super simple, street number, street name, that sort of thing. I can choose the property type. There's everything and anything you've ever wanted to know about office, industrial, retail, multifamily, hospitality, specialty, every property type you could imagine. You can also add custom fields so you can track anything and everything, that you might want. So the other thing we can do is you can use this item here, add from provider. So this is where we have an opportunity to tap into two different sources. One is build out. So if you've entered property information into build out, which is it's a fantastic marketing system, you can pull that down into ClientLook. So again, avoid that redundant data entry, or you can use Xceligent again. So with Xceligent, I can say, I want to add a property that somebody told me about in Las Vegas or Fort Lauderdale or Dallas. You have national access when you use Xceligent. I can choose that, type in the address, and boom, it will zap it down into my ClientLook property module. All right, so now let's look at a property record and see kind of the details that we're tracking here. So this is the overview tab of a property. And you see over on the left, there's basic location information. This happens to be a property that was pulled down from Xceligent, so it maintains its links back to that host system and shows me public record data. We also have integration with a couple other systems. One is called RPR, which if you're a realtor, you're familiar with for running really great demographic, analytic, that sort of analysis. There's a link to a system called the Analyst Pro, which as CCIMs, you're well aware of the Analyst Pro and Todd Kuhlman's work to really create some great content around risk analysis, financial analysis, lease analysis. So you click a button, you can jump out to that. And then all kinds of property data fields that, that you've either contributed yourself or again, you've gotten from the system like Xceligent. So the updates tab for property is where you start to develop your own kind of narrative around this property. So you can type in, whatever you want, free-form notes here about this property. Or, as I'll show you in a few minutes, you can enter a note in a contacts record and link it to a property. So if you talk to an owner about one of their properties, you go to the owner's record, enter the update. I spoke to George Adams about his property, and then link it to the property so that it appears here and in the owner's record all in kind of one fell swoop. Activities, these are activities that we've related to the property. So this is an example of how in ClientLook you can relate just about anything to each other. So if I've scheduled a property tour, I can relate that activity with George Adams to the property I'm going to show him. So that, no matter where I go, I have this visibility into stuff that I'm doing or that my team is doing from all kinds of different places. So availability. So you're going to track listings if you're a listing broker in ClientLook. You're going to enter your listing information here. You're going to attach them to properties, and you're going to track things like when the lease starts, when it expires, and changes to your data. You can publish those listings, as I'm going to show you, out to external services. So you can track availability for sale, for lease. And if you're using, this is an example of the Xceligent integration. If you have Xceligent, you can see their availability within this property. So this is a real-time view of availability from that system. So there's 8 spaces available here in the property, and you can see the 4 lease opportunities as well. Same thing is true with comp. So you hit this, and if you're using Xceligent, you can see the comp information from Xceligent, all the lease comp detail, all the sale comp details. The Files tab helps you create over time your own inventory of stuff. So think in terms of digitizing what you would otherwise keep in a paper file cabinet. So ClientLook does this for you. So typically you'd have a stack of files, for a deal, for a property. Consider scanning that stuff or not printing it in the first place if you got it digitally originally, and attaching it to the property that it corresponds with, so that this becomes the place, your archive, your electronic file cabinet for anything and everything that might have to do with a property over time. Same thing is true with images. So this is an example of the, again, Xceligent images, because we have access to that database, that list, so we can view their live photos, but you can add any sort of imagery that you might want to this property as well. People. This is where I'm going to see the people that I've related to a property. So you saw back on Jessica's record where we said, hey, she's related to this property as a tenant. She would show up here. She would show up here with her lease expiration and her square footage and the suite and the floor. So it's sort of a stacking plan built into, a sort of property record. But this, again, if I have Xceligent, I'm looking at their people with phone numbers and email addresses and square footages and that sort of thing. If I've got any deals I'm working on with this property, I'll see those here. Same thing with marketing. If I've sent emails out and I've through the MailChimp integration and I've connected them to this property, you'll see that. And I can create groups to subdivide properties. So I might, over time, have a 10,000 record property list, but I can segment them or shrink them into smaller segments to allow me to, kind of slice and dice and pull those up, more easily. All right. So we talked about property. So let's jump into and look at the listings tracking capability now. So this is for those of you who track listings. And even in the tenant rep folks, you may track sublease listings. So this is simply how it's done. So ClientLook is your hub of information. Everything that you do, contacts, properties, listings, comps, everything goes into this one, platform. So this is the list of listings. And I can add a listing to a property. So if I click the add a new listing, it's going to ask me, which property do I want to add it to? And if I've got Xceligent, I can simply pull a property down from them and add it. But this is what a listing record looks like. I track the availability. I track, the rental rates, individual spaces, depending on if it's a sale availability or lease availability. So if I go to the spaces tab here, I see the 3 suites that are available and the rental rate ranges. I see all the property details because I've connected this to a property. My people tab shows me basically the listing brokers, who at my company, is involved with, with satisfying this lease or sale listing. If there's deals pending here, I'll see all the deals. So this is where you're gonna, over time, we'll talk about deals next, but where you're gonna see, okay, on this listing, I have 3 pending deals. So it keeps you understanding, how to move things forward, how to maximize your time. Files for a listing is pretty simple, as is images. And then we've got this tab for publish. So this is where you can publish your listing information either into BuildOut if you're using that system, or into commercial search. So BuildOut as an example, you've keyed in all your listing information, you have all your property data, including all your photos. You just check that button, and boom, it's going to send it over to that marketing system where you create all that great output without having to rekey any of the data. If you change something in ClientLook, you change, square footage, availability, a space, whatever, it's going to send that change over to BuildOut as well. With commercial search, this is, if you haven't checked out commercialsearch.com, it's a fantastic free online marketplace for availability. And your listings can be published up there for free. You just have to check that little box and it'll send it up, and then any changes that you make will be contributed as well. So again here, we're trying to eliminate redundancy. We're trying to streamline your workflow and make things more efficient for you. All right, so now we talked about contacts, properties, listings. Now you've got deals. You've got deals that you need to manage. You've got a pipeline you want to track. You've got clients you need to communicate with. How does ClientLook handle that? So I go to the deals module. So I click the little deals link up at the top, and up comes my list of deals. And you can see from the columns here, I can track all kinds of stuff like, the probability, the sales stage, what does this deal really mean to me? What's the opportunity amount? When do I expect it to close? And I can generate, I can export any of this stuff to Excel and create really cool charts and graphs and understand, how things are breaking down quarter by quarter or what I've done in the past. But let's jump into one of the deals, and I'll give you an example of how how the content within one of these deals works and what its role is in your business. So here is a listing for 1629 Covington listing. And a couple of things are important here. So the updates tab that you see here is where everything that you do around a deal lives. So I can come in here and, like you've seen in context or in properties, and I can just key something in. I can, enter something that I did for this listing. So let's say I'm leasing a space. I can type in the outcome of a property tour or log an offer I received here. But more often than not, you're going to be communicating around deals via email. So ClientLook assigns each one of your deals its own dedicated email address. You see that there in the middle of the page. And don't worry about the email address again. All you do is come into your deal and click email me a V card, and it will add this little record into your phone, your tablet, into Outlook. And here's how it works. So now I'm going to send somebody an email, and it has something to do with a deal I'm working on. So instead of just BCCing ClientLook, I'm going to BCC the deal that I'm writing about. So in this case, I BCC 1629 Covington. So here's what happens. The email goes to the recipient or the recipients, and a copy goes to ClientLook. ClientLook sees that you've addressed it to this deal. So it not only creates the email in your account and relates it to the contacts that were recipients of that email, but it also relates it to the deal. So if you think about it, this is really what a lot of us are after when we create all those folders in Outlook. We're trying to organize things around deals. So ClientLook does that for you effortlessly, seamlessly. You don't even have to think about it. All you have to do when you're emailing is think to yourself, what deal does this involve? And then BCC that deal. It works great from your phone or wherever you might send emails. Even emails that you receive, you can forward those off to a deal or to just a ClientLook, and they connect as well. So I'll bet these days we're getting hundreds of thousands of emails a week. This is one of the main places where data flows into ClientLook. So if you're like our other subscribers, you'll really see the benefit of the way this transforms the way that you're able to organize deal stuff. Now, what that means is I can come into this deal and I can scroll down and I can see everything that I've done for this deal. Every phone call, every meeting, every property tour, every email, every file I've received, every file I've sent, it's all in one place, all succinctly organized. If I go to the activities tab, I'm going to see all the future stuff that I'm going to do for this deal. Tours, property, open houses, it depends on your assignment, your specialty again. But this would vary. But here's one of the other big features of deals. So this is the people tab. So fundamentally, you use this sort of to manage your prospects. So depending on, again, your specialty, you will relate people to a deal, just like you saw us relate Jessica to a property. The same exact mechanism works with relating someone to a deal. And you relate them to a deal, and you assign a relationship. How should Jessica Allman at Red Cloud be related to this, this deal? And you can come up with any sort of relationship sort of categories that you want. But a key feature here is that you can relate your clients to this deal. And when you relate your client, you can check a little box that allows them to have login access to this deal for free. So here's why that's important. Number one, you're allowing your client to self-serve their need for activity information on whatever sort of assignment it might be. They can now log in at their convenience and see information that you've saved. And just so you know, you have full privacy rights within a deal so that you can show some stuff, hide some stuff. So it's not like it's all or nothing. But perhaps more importantly, and we hear this all the time from ClientLook users, is that this feature alone helps them win business because it's differentiating. You're not going to be one of those brokers who's going to go in and say, yes, and I'm going to be communicating with you, via a weekly phone call, and I'm going to send you a monthly marketing report, or I'm going to take you out to lunch every month and tell you everything I'm doing. This is a way to imply to a potential client that our business is transparent, we're working very hard, and we use modern technology, and you can log in anytime you want. Now, half of them will never log in, and that's fine, but you've got the deal, and you can always use an offline report to send them content anyways. So ClientLook has a reporting feature here. You can say, okay, I want the activity for the last 30 days and send it off. And so you've made those people happy. So marketing tab here within a deal tells us what marketing campaigns we've done and the success we've had. And then again, groups like you've seen in the other modules, we can group our list of deals into smaller segments. Okay, so I've talked a lot about how you add stuff, how you share stuff with clients and that sort of thing. Let me touch on a little more detail around adding updates and the activities, you know, your calendar and that sort of thing in ClientLook. Okay, so here we are in the contacts list, and I want to add an update for a contact. So I pull up George Adams in this case. So typically in the middle of the screen here, you see what's your update. I can just type in some information, click add this update, and I'm done. But if I click this little show update options link, it expands the page, and it shows you how you can connect an update to other records, other things in ClientLook. So by default, it's going to be related to George, who is the contact just on the screen there. It's going to have my name as the person who's doing this, but I can add more people. Let's say I met with George's COO and his, you know, real estate director. So I can add those people just by typing in names. It'll find them and I choose them from the list. Maybe my partner, you know, Christopher joined me on this activity. I can add in here. I can relate this to deals that I'm working on. I can relate it to properties. So down below, I can also choose how I want to share this update. So sharing is a really unique feature to ClientLook. So in commercial real estate, there's a lot of nuances with the privacy of information, especially within an office or within a team environment. So it may be that I'm in a team or in an office-wide installation of ClientLook, and I'm representing the seller on some deal, and you are representing the buyer. So it ethically, legally, it's not permissible for us to be sharing information, you know, specifics about the deal with each other. So you can't come in and see, you know, an email that I just sent to my owner with details about how we should counter your offer. So that's what sharing is all about. So you can come into here and choose how you want to share this update. Even though everybody in the company still sees George Adams, you can choose how to share, you know, unique things within those records. So it's really powerful, really easy. Sharing extends to either to an individual user. You can privatize it yourself. You can create teams and, you know, have a 50 user account, but just share it with, you know, 5 people or something like that. So it's really powerful, really easy, and it's designed exactly for the way that that we work here. All right, so here's an example of entering an update. You see it down below. All right, so now we're going to jump over to the activities module for a second here. So basically, ClientLook breaks up your activities into 2 distinct types of activities: events and tasks. Events are those things that have a time. I'm going to meet with Steve and Patrick for a property tour at 11 a.m. That's an event. And you see those broken down here. And the tasks, however, let me jump back. Tasks are different in that they just have to be done on a day. So I want to call Bob Johnson on the 31st of October, but it doesn't have to be at a time or you know, at a designated place. And tasks are typically those things that have long-term follow-ups. So I may schedule a follow-up a year from now to, you know, start prospecting for a lease expiration that's coming up for a company, but I don't have to do it at a date and a time. So, and events and tasks can be synced to your mobile device. You can use Google Sync, which we built in here. It's free, and it will sync down to your mobile device, iPhone, Android, Windows Phone, whatever you're using, so that you have, you know, a way to see your calendar in your phone and your tasks, and you can bi-directionally, you know, send them. So you make updates in your phone, zaps it back up here. So it works really great. And I'll show you how you'll use our mobile app for that too in just a minute. But so let me touch on Scoop here before I jump over to the marketing aspects of ClientLook. So the information that you see here within Scoop should be a little familiar. These are updates. These are things that we've added to contacts, to properties, to deals, either via email or I've keyed them in. The virtual assistant's added them in, but they're intelligent. They're points of touch related to those records. So what Scoop does is it rolls them all up into one place, one consolidated feed, so that you can come here and have a summary of everything that you've done. You can also use the filters at the top here to change and say, all right, I want to look at my partner's activity, or I want to look at the entire company's worth of activity by choosing all users there. And it will show you all of that in one place. So a couple of things to understand here. That you have sharing built into everything that you do. So you know, people aren't going to see stuff that you don't share with them in a multi-user database. But even if you're not sharing a database, even if you're a single user, one of the most valuable features of Scoop is its ability to search. So imagine over time, you're going to be creating a common bucket of information related to every phone call you make, every activity you complete, and every email that you send and receive. And it's all searchable in one place. So your email is searchable if you go to your email. You can run reports typically in your contact manager or your CRM to see what you've done, but there's nothing like Scoop out there. There's nothing that lets you come up and enter a keyword here for, you know, sewer permits, and it will look through everything you've ever done to see if there's anybody that you ever mentioned the term sewer permits to. So it's really powerful and really super easy to use. All right, marketing. So this is one of the last things I'll touch on before showing you a preview of our mobile app here. But so marketing, by marketing, we mean email marketing. So this is obviously a very prevalent feature, something that lots and lots of people use. And there are a variety of systems that do it. MailChimp, iContact, Constant Contact, you know, they're all kind of the same. And you know, the typical way that people engage with them is you come up with a flyer or some sort of offering and you blast it out to some big list of people, and then you wait. And you hope somebody calls. And, you know, it's a very reactive marketing approach. So in ClientLook, we try to solve a couple of problems. So one big problem that's inherent with using email marketing systems is that it's basically another list. So you have your CRM and you have all your prospects and your clients and, you know, your owners, your tenants, or whatever it might be. You have all their names, your email addresses, and then you have MailChimp, and you have all of those names sort of duplicated, and sometimes they match and sometimes they don't match. And oh, I just got these new business cards, and did I add them to our email system or did I add them to the CRM? And, you know, so there's all kinds of complexity and tons of redundancy. So first and foremost, we sought to solve the problem of ClientLook is your one and only point of data entry for any sort of contact information that you get, ClientLook. Then we linked it to MailChimp. So why MailChimp? So MailChimp had, at the time we developed this, the most powerful API, and it had a very generous free platform. So we have lots of users who just use the free level of service, and it works great. So you put stuff into ClientLook. I've attached link to my MailChimp account, and now anything that any people I send an email to in ClientLook get pushed over to MailChimp, so there's never a gap. Plus, the other big deficiency with email systems is you really can't search them. You know, you can create these lists, like these are my broker list or my owner list, but I want brokers on the west side, or I want owners of this type of property or tenants with a lease coming up before the end of the year. This is all stuff that searches that ClientLook is great at, but no email system does. So this is how you can use ClientLook to send emails. You do one of those searches, those really simple but very powerful, effective searches, and you find your list of contacts. Then I come up here to the options menu and I choose send a MailChimp email. So up comes this list that displays for me the templates that I've created in MailChimp. So again, this is a solely MailChimp example. There isn't another email system that we currently integrate with. So I'm showing you this from the MailChimp perspective. So MailChimp you use to design your template, flyer, brochure, correspondence, whatever it might be. And ClientLook presents those to you and says, which one do you want to send to your list of people? And so I check one here. I just click on it. And then it takes me to the screen and asks me, okay, you know, specify the subject of this email. You know, do you want to relate it to any deals? Do you want to relate it to any properties? Do you want to add Google Analytic characteristics to it? And then I can, down here in send options, choose to either schedule it or to send it now. So one way or another, I do all that. And here's what you get from having done that. So ClientLook has a marketing tab up at the top here, and it displays for you the list of all of your campaigns. Campaigns are the emails that you sent to lists of ClientLook users through this MailChimp integration. And I'm going to click on one of these. And here's what I see. I see 186 recipients, 4 open, 16% open rate. But more importantly, I see the people over here that engaged in some way with my email. So this was the big the last big feature we were trying to accomplish. You send emails. Now we want to tell you who engaged with those emails, who opened them, who clicked on them, and we want to just show you some flat report. We wanted to show you a list of actionable contacts in ClientLook. So you see the list of all these people here, and you see, you know, this guy opened it twice, this guy opened it one time, you know, whatever the case may be. But the idea is that you now have something that you can do something with. You can use this little show list here to click and see, you know, I want to see just the clicks or the unsubscribes, you know, people who aren't interested or whatever the case is. But let's go and look up a context record, and I'll show you again how you can view this stuff in a person's record. So now I'm back on Jessica's contact record. Remember I talked about the marketing tab. So here I can see she's been sent 15 campaigns. She has a kind of low open rate, 7% click rate. You know, MailChimp gives her just a 2-star and kind of engagement statistic. And we added her to the list back in 2016. But down below, I can scroll through and see everything that she's been sent and if she's clicked anything or not. So now, when I contact this person, I have a level of intelligence that the next guy's not going to have. I know at least what I've sent them, they've engaged with. And it's helpful then for me to kind of cater my presentation, my talk track, whatever, to things I know they might be interested in. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you here. So this has been a very hotly anticipated feature for a long time. This is about to deploy to the App Store. We're waiting for the iPhone 10 to release. So ClientLook's first mobile app is going to be iOS-based, iPhone-based. Apple just released the iPhone 10. I actually picked mine up on Friday. I'm very excited. And so this was a part of that, part of our development release process was waiting to make sure that our app worked on that device. Otherwise, we'd have to redesign it. But I'm going to give you a look at kind of the look and feel of the app. So here is the basic role of this app is to be the entire ClientLook system, your entire business in your pocket. We've been using this internally now for weeks. It is super fast. It is super efficient. It's fun to use. From things like pulling up, you know, Simon Aldridge's record there and scanning through everything we've done with that person in the past, seeing the properties they're related to, seeing, you know, the marketing things that they've engaged with, from going to Scoop and seeing, you know, all of the different interactions that I've had or my company's had from the day. It's really cool. It's really easy. And it follows our sort of paradigm of no training, simple functionality. You're going to be able to add this to, you know, to your iPhone and instantly start to use it. Oh, the other cool thing is that your clients can use this too. So your clients can download the ClientLook mobile app and log in and gain access to their deals that you've shared with them. So that's another thing that you can profess to be able to provide. Hey, you can use a mobile app actually to gauge my activity. Okay, so with all that said, we're going to wrap it up here. But I want to tell you about the special CCIM discount rates that you have available to you. So what do you do next? So if you're not a ClientLook subscriber, the easiest path to understand ClientLook, to see everything I've shown you, is to sign up for a trial. 21-day free trial. You can do everything and anything that you've seen in this demo. There's no obligation. There's no cost. If it doesn't work out at the end of 21 days, you just go away. You can also request a demo. Have somebody on the ClientLook team actually present what I've shown you here, but do it in the context of your company. We are, multifamily specialists in the Northeast or whatever it is. So we've done countless demos for every imaginable specialty. So we know how to cut to the chase to help you understand exactly what ClientLook can do for you and how it's different than anything that you might be using now or are considering using. So over on the right, you see the special discounts. So we have basically 3 tiers. The new to business is free for 6 months. New to business guys are people who have just joined the business. You are a new broker, less than 60 days in the business, and you need a CRM, but obviously money's tight. So we will gladly allow you to use ClientLook for 6 months, provide you all the support you need. And after 6 months, if you choose to continue, then you pay the monthly rate. Otherwise, you can cancel as well. There's no obligation. $69 is our annual subscription. You pay $69, basically $828 upfront, but it's effectively $69 a month for prepaid for a year. Or you can go month to month. The $76 rate is the special CCIM discounted monthly rate. The normal monthly rate is $89. So you've got a discount off there. The support, virtual assistant, everything I've shown you is included except for access to those third-party products. So in essence, we've got nothing else to sell you. There are no hidden fees, hidden tricks. There's no volume limits. Everything's unlimited. So it's a really fair, easy, simple tool to engage with. All right. With all that said, Chuck, in the last couple of minutes of time here, have there been any questions that we got that you think I might need to address?
You actually addressed several of them with that last slide regarding the cost of the virtual assistant. A lot of people had asked, hey, does the integration with Xceligent require an Xceligent subscription?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Yeah, but yes, it does. And Xceligent has two ways for you, as I understand it, to access their data through ClientLook. One is a full subscription to their flagship product, which is called CDX. Another is they offer just access to their data through ClientLook and I don't know what the going rate is these days, but it was a dramatically lower rate. So you can basically say, I'm not going to use the Xceligent CDX service. I've got something else I do, but I want access to your data through ClientLook. So I understand how how it will save me time and properties, et cetera, et cetera. So if you speak to Xceligent, certainly ask them about both options.
Okay, several people had asked if there's a limit to the amount of storage space in ClientLook.
No, there's no limits. We don't meter anything that you do. So think of this as the place where you want to put everything that involves your business, from your lists to your images to your files, and it's all safely stored, backed up daily. But no, there's no limits. Nothing that you have to be worried about.
Great. You answered the new to business question with that last slide. When sending emails into ClientLook, is it going to include my attachments? And what if I have multiple attachments on my emails?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And yes, ClientLook does grab those attachments. It includes those as the email within the email. So basically, ClientLook will reconstruct your email in ClientLook. The body of the message becomes the body of an update in ClientLook. And it has multiple attachments, so the multiple files that you had included with that email get attached to that as well. So it's a seamless conversion, if you will, of that email into the ClientLook format. The benefit of which is that obviously it gets related to all the people and all the deals that you told it to, relate the email to.
Great. Well, that was it as far as the stuff that I think might apply to everybody.
Okay. All right, great. Well, again, everybody, sign up for that free 21-day trial. Give ClientLook a look. Call us, email us, let us know how we can help you better understand ClientLook and see if it's a fit for your business. Thank you very much for attending. Again, we've recorded this, so ideally we'll be able to send this out to you in the next day or so. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for your time. Bye, everybody.